I've recently done some of my longest ever bike rides, and actually I'm on one of them right now. There are, however, a few things that I wish I'd known before taking on these big distances. So here's 10 top tips on how to push your endurance and hopefully make those long bike rides just that little bit more enjoyable. Number 1, don't try and be like me and try and fit everything into your back pockets. Don't get me wrong, jersey pockets are wonderful inventions, but they do have their limits. And as the distances go up, it's a big benefit to try and get some of that stuff out of your pockets and onto your bike. As a general rule, I'd recommend putting your phone and food in your pockets and then trying to get everything else, such as tools, spares and luggage, onto the bike. Now, even if you hate saddlebags, then you can still tape some tubes under your saddle, take full use of any integrated storage, and then, well, bag up your bike with racks and bags for everything else, like I've done here. It sounds a bit lame, but at some point on a long bike ride, your head is probably going to be in the gutter, and you're going to feel like you can't carry on. Midway through the Mallorca 312, I seriously didn't think I was going to finish when both my stomach and my legs deserted me. I think my best advice here is to go into long rides accepting that there will at some point be some lows. Now, an ultra endurance cyclist once told me that the night is always darkest before the dawn. I think what he meant by that is that there will be low points, but they're often followed by some really good bits. It served me well over the years, and just keep the pedals turning and things most likely will perk up. Well, it was obvious that fueling was going to come up at some point, wasn't it? But we just can't say it enough. Eat before you need to, eat when you're hungry, eat when you're not hungry, and probably just eat whatever you like. We can often get caught up on which high carb gels or high carb drinks are best, and I'd suggest ignoring all that. Find whatever food and drink you feel like eating on long rides, because after 4 or 5 hours, there's, well, A, nothing tastes better than water, and anything you get into your body is going to be better than nothing. I quite like Roundtree's jelly. What do you reckon, Emily? Some riders are massive fans of chamois cream and absolutely swear by it. Others claim they've never touched the stuff. Now, I don't always use it, but before a long ride, my mentality is, why not? Chamois cream is very unlikely to do you any harm, and when you're pushing the limits of what you've previously ridden, then I think it's well worth lathering up. Let me know whether you agree or disagree with me in the comments below. If, like us, you're going to be riding for a few days back to back, for example on a bike packing adventure or a training camp, then my one piece of advice would be to take a few different brands or models of bib shorts with you. However comfy you find your favourite bib shorts, I reckon that after a few days you'll be quite glad of a different shaped chamois, or just having the stitching in a slightly different place. It's little things like this that after hours on the saddle can make quite a big difference to your riding enjoyment. However much goading from your mates you get, or however superhuman your legs are feeling, don't be tempted to go into the red. Now, you've probably heard this before about pacing your effort and not going off too hard, but seriously, know your limits. There's plenty of science behind this too. In zone 2, at a chatty pace that most of your endurance rides will be at, you are mainly burning fats. This is really efficient. As you push the pace though, you then burn more and more carbs. That's fine up to a point, but as you near your threshold, you start to burn them less and less efficiently. And that produces lactate and lactic acid, which is not the most comfortable. The good thing about endurance rides is there's loads of time and loads of distance to save it for later. Now, I wasn't going to include this one, but it's one of the things that annoyed me most about my last long ride. My cycle computer ran out of battery. Now, I know that sounds shallow, and you probably all have a go at me that I just wanted to show off on Strava about how far I'd ridden, but it's not just that. I was then left routeless and unable to monitor how far was left and what pace I was riding at. A lot of the latest cycling computers have got a lot better when it comes to battery life, and even more of them can now be charged whilst in use. If you are worried about your phone or computer going flat, then take a little battery pack with you. I've got one in this top tube bag, and if it's a nice top tube bag like this one, then it's probably even got a little port and you can run a wire to your devices. You can do that to a front light or your computer, or even to your phone. Other things to remember, always make sure that all your batteries are charged. So for example, if you're lucky enough to have electronic shifting, then make sure your mech batteries are charged. And also remember your shifter batteries, because I've made that mistake before. Do your research and maybe even Google Street View a few little bits, because the route can make a huge difference to both your speed and your enjoyment. It's almost always better to know what is coming so that you can prepare and plan accordingly. As we know, 1 mile can be very different to the next. And as Dave will tell you, who's riding over 200k every month this year, the road surface and the elevation can quite drastically change how quick you can make progress. Look it up before, maybe even print it out, stick it on your stem or top tube or something like that, and minimize your chance of a nasty surprise. One thing that I wish I'd thought about sooner is how long chain lube lasts. Now, even the quite good stuff sometimes doesn't last as long as a long ride, especially in crappy conditions. Now, I've recently started bringing a tiny little bottle of chain lube with me. I got it free at an event. You get a little taster pot. I just refill that, pop it in one of my bags and take that with me. Not only is a noisy chain, squeaky chain going to be really annoying, but it's also quite literally the sound of very expensive components wearing out. The other thing that you could do is wax your chain, because in dry conditions, that's probably going to last as long as most of our endurance rides. If you go on 10, 30-kilometer rides, then just think about all the things that might happen. The weather you might face, the bits of your bike that might break, the punctures that you might have. Now think about a 300k ride. Your bike, your body and all your equipment is still traveling the same distance, so it's only right to prepare for a few things happening. Now, I'm not saying this to scare you, but the longer the ride, the more eventualities that you should probably be prepared for. Maybe take a few step air tubes instead of the normal one. Take a rain cape and a buff for if something happens and you're caught out, it gets cold, for example, even if the weather forecast is good. Take some tools, even if you don't know how to use them, then someone else riding past you might. A quick link and a chain tool are well up my list. Make sure you've got lots of food with you. And of course, a bank card for in case all else fails. Let us know any of your tips and tricks for riding your bike long distances down in the comment section below, as well as what your longest ride is. As always, if you enjoyed this kind of content, then give it a like, subscribe to the channel for lots more bike stuff, and we'll see you next time. Sometime when I get back from France.